Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going over the Myers Lake Island Zoo, situated in Sundance corner of Greece. Dominic Myers' first foray into the world of zoo building, and he sucks at it. It's small, and he wants to cram as much in as he can, and because of that, it's a mess, and he basically brings you in to fix it. So, because all of my recordings were lost, like I said, I've already finished this. I'm feeling a little sick. I've been sick this weekend, so I'm going to try to get through this quick, but I'm just going to walk you through it and go over how I accomplished all of this, and that's about it. So, first of all, your bronze is to earn a yearly profit of 15K, have at least 1,150 guests in your zoo. For 3 months, I've clearly had it for a long time, and have absolutely no protesters in the zoo, and this zoo starts with protesters in it. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it. First thing I always do, because there's protesters and you want to get rid of them, that's the easiest thing to do, is head on over to your yellow anaconda here. Not sure where he is, but oh, there he is. So protesters are going to be here. You want to click on them, go under climate, and fix the temperature and humidity, and that will make the protesters for him leave. And I can't remember if protesters are looking at the Titan beetle as well, but just in case, they're also going to have problems with their climate, so go ahead and fix that. And I would suggest going under management and doing manage population, because they will breed very quickly, and if their population gets too high, that also upsets them, and it'll automatically put the extras into here. I don't have any right now, but it's a good way to make money. You can sell them and get like $3,000 to $5,000 per selling of them. That's going to get rid of your protesters, and the rest of this stuff is kind of just waiting to see what your profit margins become and how many guests you can get in. And making the animals happier is going to bring both of those things up naturally. This is going to look different, obviously, because I finished it, but when it comes to the habitats, the first one I like to look at is the mandrill, because you're going to have protesters in here specifically because of them. They don't have a hard shelter when you start, they don't have anything to climb on when you start, and the habitat just kind of looks like crap. There's sparse foliage, and it's a weird layout. So I like to remove the fencing all around this back area. Make sure you keep your game paused so they don't escape. The game will still yell at you, but they can't get out while it's paused. And then I build them a nice shelter here. I'm using these wood pieces, and normally they can climb up this, but if you click on any climbable pieces that they could get at, you can set the climbing to disabled, and then you can still build with it. You don't have to worry about them climbing up out of it. And as you remove fences, make sure you're keeping the climb proof stuff on it. I forget which side it's supposed to be on a lot, so I usually just put it on both to be safe. To do that, you click on it, go on your little gear icon, and hit both. Because if you have it on the wrong side, like this, they'll be able to climb up and get out. So I just hit both to be safe. And then, of course, I come in and I build them a little climbing thing here. You just want to make sure it's enough to fill their climbing need. So this is barely enough, but it's because they've had babies. I'm pretty sure most, if not all, of the females in the mandrill habitat are pregnant when you first start this. So I usually like to go find the male, who's over here, and put him on contraceptives. So once these babies are born, there's not going to be like immediately pregnant females again. And that should take care of them. Make sure to put their enrichment stuff back down, get them some foliage in here. I'm sure that they have a foliage need in the actual game under their environment here, but I have a mod and it lets me have as much or as little as I want, but I guarantee that's different if you don't have that mod installed. The next thing I like to do is, I believe it's, where's it at? I'll find it because it's crap right now. There it is. The staff won't have enough space. You'll be getting a thing telling you, and not enough staff room space. So I usually just chuck one down right here next to the quarantine. Normally I decorate it, but I don't know, for some reason this time I didn't. So that'll deal with that complaint. And generally, since it's next to it, I work on the tortoises next. Mine have had babies, and my male, I believe, is on contraceptives now, yeah. They have lots of babies in here. But they also will not have a hard shelter. So I'll usually remove this section of fencing and this section of fencing and build them a little thing. You want to make sure it's big enough to where if you plan on letting them have babies, that they can all fit in there. I think, yeah, mine is sufficient for that. Put down any enrichment items you happen to have, put down whatever vegetation they need, and just, you know, generally make sure that they're doing good. I don't know why there's no path here. That's news to me. Go ahead and fix that. It doesn't. There we go. I don't know why there was nothing there, but hey. And also a good thing to be doing is making sure every habitat has the education coverage with a donation box next to it. This one doesn't have any when you start, and this is not a viewable area when you start. So I always extend these posts, put some glass in here and here, and then give them 2 education boards so that people are donating to you. Next thing I like to do is this paddock is usually aardvarks, and there's 4 of them, which is overcrowding. They're going to get mad at you if they're like that. So there's 1 pregnant and a male, and I save those, and then 2 other females, and I just sell them or release them to the wild because you don't need them. They're not going to want more than just 2 in there. And I put them into my animal trading, my storage, and then I go down to here. My aardvarks are down here now, but usually this is the hyenas, and there's only 1, which is bad, and 2, it's just really too small of a space if you're going to have more than 1 hyena. And a good thing to do if you're still worried about space for the aardvarks is that you can't edit terrain in this scenario, but what you can do is take this bedding. I'll show you real quick. And if you put some down, it pushes, you can't see it because of the rocks, but here. Not doing it. Yeah, it pushes that back a little. Yeah, I did it there, but when you set it down, it opens up this little cavern area more, and it basically gives them more traversable area without being able to... Oh boy, a 4. But I put the aardvarks in here and switch them with the hyenas, and I usually like to make sure I have a male because you start with a female. And I just give her a male. Generally, you're going to have to raise this area up, and I even put an extra fencing there because they will be able to get out over this. And as far as a hard shelter goes, because they also don't have one, I tend to remove this back wall and a little of the mandrills and put one right here, because it's the flattest spot for one in this whole area. You could probably put one here, maybe. Just wouldn't be as much room, but hey, whatever you want to do with that. The next thing I do is I go into our... I call it the African area, but the way it starts out is this building is split into 3 separate parts. This area has the giraffes. Then you'll have your zebra here and your Nyala right here. Now, I don't like that. I just open this entire thing up and turn it into one giant enclosure for African animals. So I take the Nyala out, put him in storage. I go back down here, get my warthogs from in here, and there's usually 3, and I only keep 2. I keep a male and a female, and I put them in here with the giraffe and the zebra, and they're all fine with that. They like that. It gives them more enrichment, more space, etc., and it also makes people happy to see a variety of animals in one space, so that'll help with guest count and making more money. Put down your education boards and donation for all of them to help get that profit up, of course. And then once that's finished, bring your Nyala down here where the warthogs were, stick him in there. You'll start with just a male, but I have a male and a female. They did have a baby, but I think she had just grown up and I have her in storage now, so they're good to have another baby if they want to, but that's usually what I do with them. And then you have your elephant over here, and she's a female, yeah. She's alone the entire game. I just keep her alone because you'll want to save up your conservation credits to get animals that you need for the medals, and she'll be fine on her own as long as she has everything else accounted for, like, you know, enrichment and shelter and all that. And I also tend to put later on African buffalo in here, and that also adds to her enrichment. The big problem you're going to have with her is the fact that when you start, this water will be filthy, and that can make her sick and get you protesters. And this will also just be this crappy fencing. I always change it to something hardier because if she gets mad, or even if she's not, she'll bust that open and escape, which is a problem. You don't want that. But as far as her water, I put it, it's basically just right next to it up top on the cliff. There's already pathing here for the staff, and I just stick it in this little spot here, and it does good to hit the water. It barely skims it, but that's all it needs to do to get to the water. So at that point, you should be good with your bronze. And these three things, the 14 habitat species, I'd recommend putting African buffalo down here. And the 20,000, I believe I'd already hit that by the time I'd finished bronze. The 1,600 guests for 3 months, I've had them for 55 months apparently. But those will come, in my experience, when you put your grizzly bear down. That's mostly what you have to focus on here. And getting the 14 habitat species. So this, if you put the buffalo down in here, I believe that will get you to like 10. And this over here, we have the entrance into the park. And this starts out as already being partially developed. I just extended across, and then I made this little looping path. I used this area right up here to put some staff buildings for the grizzly bears, keeper, power to power everything, staff room, and it's also really important to put a research facility up here because one of your gold requirements is to have a level 3 research for the grizzlies. So I started out with just a female, and I ended up putting a male in here with her too, just to bump up those numbers of people coming in. So pretty simple, just several viewing areas, make sure they can see them, get your education and donation boards in there, make sure they're happy. You still have to do the 14 animals. Come over here, right past where the zebras are, and this is also kind of partially built just to give you an idea of where to go. And these two, Gemsbach, American Bison, are going to get you up to 13, and I almost always put them here. I put a big staff facility in between the two habitats so that they're both easily accessible, and they also have their own hard shelters attached to the center. Here we have the Gemsbach. They like to have at least 5 of them, but you don't have to have that many right off the bat, just enough that they're going to be happy. The American Bison need to have at least 3 of them in there, and then they'll be good to go. And so for my 14th one, I almost always just grab the Siberian tiger now because you don't need more than 14 habitat species in this zoo. So there's really no point in putting down a 14th and then also adding the Siberian tiger. So just go ahead and grab one now. And then once you've completed all of these, you'll already have your Siberian tiger down, who I have over here. This park doesn't have a lot of room. There's a lot of bridges to different places. I always extend it out twice here so people can get over here, but generally with stuff like this, it's such a long walk that people don't come over here much. But at this point, this was this was the last thing I actually did, was just build this. I had already gotten the zoo inspection report of a 3, at least a 3. Start the research on the grizzly bear if you haven't already, and you'll get that pretty quick as long as you put that research thing over there. Earn a yearly profit. I'm not sure if I had gotten this already, but I think I had. I think by the time I switched to this, I'd already done it. The one thing that was kind of flip-flopping was this 2200 guests in the zoo, and this was even after I had put the tiger down to try and bump this up. It still was like, it would go up and then it would come back down, and if it goes under that number, this timer resets, so it's super annoying. What I did was I went under zoo overview and lowered the price down until people were like, ooh, it's, underpriced, and then yeah, that gets you enough guests. And then it was just kind of waiting on those 3 months to pass, and I hit the goal. I also put down some bins. There's not enough bins in this. You're gonna get a lot of high litter, mostly in this area. So put bins down all through here. Anywhere where you feel like there's gonna be high traffic, you're gonna need some over here. You're gonna need some down here, benches, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the importance in this is just getting down your education boards, donation bins, stuff like that to bump that money up, and obviously making all of your animals nice and happy. But the tiger, I was planning on like continuing this zoo just for fun and building this area up and kind of redoing her area a little bit more, but I just didn't. So here she is. She looks like she's dead. Are you okay? That's a really weird stripe. Almost looks like a birthmark. Tigers are cool, but I didn't even put any plants in here. You'll have to, because they need to have plants, but I just didn't get around to it. And also, it's not a requirement for me, so it's gonna be for you. But anyways, that's about it. This zoo is one of my favorites. I just like the idea of coming in and to a crappy rundown zoo and redoing it and fixing it up and making the animals happy. That's probably my favorite kind of scenario. So with all of that said, that should definitely get you to your gold, and I will see you all in the next one, and I'll have to do it exactly the same way because I lost all my recording, and I apologize for that, but things will eventually get back on track. So thank you. Have a good one.